Today marks International Women's Day. It's a day when the world celebrates the achievements of women and girls around the globe and reflects on the challenges girls and women face in achieving gender equality around the world. The United Zimbabwe Alliance joins the world in celebrating this important day. UZA is built on a foundation based on women's empowerment. Our gender equality policy is based on promoting the social, political, and economic inclusion of women and girls. UZA utilizes this day to reflect and take stock of progress that girls and women have made in Zimbabwe. We are honored to work with women around the world, and a lot has changed in the world, and significant progress has been made, with women beginning to take the lead and realizing their own ability to make an impact in various aspects of society. Women have and continue to contribute tirelessly towards progress and advancement, and we should look at the role models that have set the path as examples of what is possible for women. There is still a lot to do, but the progress being made is commendable. Societies are slowly transforming, and women are taking the lead in the driver's seat in many ways. They always have, haven't they? We've had women leaders in business, in communities, in governments. We are seeing significant strides being made, but the desired transformation and the inclusion of women is yet to be achieved. The visibility and inclusion of girls and women has increased, but it's very slow. Women's economic opportunities and political participation have increased significantly, but UZA believes that more should be done. And this is reflected on our party's leadership and our own policies. UZA recognizes the progress made in access to education. We also recognize employment opportunities and entrepreneurship. And in fact, we are working intentionally to even pave the way for further opportunities for women in these areas. We want to see a government that prioritizes property rights for women. Women's inclusion transcends race and social status. As women of all backgrounds, races, and countries rise throughout the world and participate in all economic fronts, although the numbers are on the rise, they remain low, lower than that of males. Globally, the gender gap in the labor force has shown that participation of women has increased from an average of 30% for women in the 1990s to 65% in 2023, representing a commendable amount of progress, while men saw an 80% to 90% increase for the same period. In Zimbabwe, women still do face an uphill battle, particularly when it comes to economic participation and inclusion. Although more and more women find employment and are entering entrepreneurial opportunities in all sectors, the level of inclusion is almost negligible, especially when compared to our male counterparts. During the land reform program, only 10% of women gained access to land. Women were largely left out in key sectors such as mining and manufacturing. There's urgently a need to address this imbalance. So through various initiatives, UZA's policies will prioritize women's empowerment and entrepreneurship in all sectors of the economy, including resource extraction, manufacturing, science and technology, tourism, and agriculture. There's so many ways that women can participate. We are making huge strides in the small spaces that we occupy. However, as UZA, we are determined to see more women in more meaningful roles in larger spaces, with influence, with impact. And this alone has the potential to stimulate economic growth and social stability for Zimbabwe. UZA believes women's inclusion is a priority that requires urgent national attention. Across the world, women have significantly increased their political participation, with women holding important positions both in national governments as well as in multinational organizations and other key institutions. There are currently 33 female presidents worldwide, while the proportion of female ministers and parliamentarians still only averages 33%. In Zimbabwe, after the 2018 elections, women constituted 31% of parliamentarians, while female councillors made up 28%. These numbers dropped in 2023 when we had the elections. As more women are trained and initiated into leadership positions, women's participation will not only increase based on statutory quotas, but will also increase organically as women become actively engaged and challenge issues of governance and shape policies that empower them to be essential elements of the nation's development. And so in pursuit of our various policy goals, UZA has launched projects and programs aimed at empowering and educating girls and women. Our education policy focuses on the inclusion and access of girls whose early successes have unfortunately been wiped out by the neglect, particularly in rural schools, and due to economic collapse within Zimbabwe. Infrastructure throughout Zimbabwe is collapsing. It's inadequate, and it's often under-resourced. The most severe aspects of this collapse is affecting girls, most of whom are pulled out of school to help at home to support struggling families, particularly single-parent families, who are often headed by women. Girls and women are equally vulnerable to abuse, especially if they are not sufficiently educated. And child marriage becomes a consequence. It's also a consequence of the economic collapse that we are seeing throughout Zimbabwe and the inadequate education for girls. This age-old problem has persisted in our society, and it appears to be on the rise. And this is a grave concern that UZA, together with its partners, is consistently working on through current policies in order to decisively address these issues at the national level. Primary schools currently have an average graduation of 80%, while secondary schools graduate less than 56%. This is incredibly low. Young girls often fail to complete school at this level. Again, girls who live and study in rural areas suffer more due to high levels of poverty. This scourge is also increasing in poorer, more densely populated locations. There is, however, much to celebrate. Women have proven to be a powerful force in our country, Zimbabwe, and politically, women have emerged as strong and effective voices for progress and development. Countries, institutions, companies, societies are now headed by women and are performing well and are very competitive. What was a mere dream 100 years ago has become a beacon that inspires generations of girls and women, as well as men and young men. UZA is proud, and we are honored to join the world in celebrating this day and the many victories achieved by women and girls around the world. As part of a national and global network, UZA, the United Zimbabwe Alliance, is committed to contributing to the inclusion and empowerment of women. Together, we can achieve greater parity and inclusion and create a nation and a world that enables everyone to reach their full potential and the best of themselves.